Hey, what you doing? Okay, okay. Okay, here. Here, it's right here. Yeah. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good morning. Oh, my shirt has written up. Not cute. Not cute. How's everyone doing? Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How's everyone feeling? Feeling good? Happy? Working it all out? Coffee? Baby? Books? Beans, babies, books. Beans, babies, and books. That's what book club is. Beans, babies, and books. Oh my god, I love it. Doing good. Your goat had babies? Will you send pictures? I want to see goat babies. I want to see goat babies. Morning Sloth. I think we all want to see goat babies. Am I alone in this? I want to see goat babies. There's no question that I want that. Please send pictures of goat babies. Oh my gosh. I'm obsessed already and I haven't even seen them yet. Hello, or you want to say hi to everyone? She was eating. We were having breakfast. Please, please, please. Yes, post them in the chat, please. We love a goat baby. Or at least, hey Claire, hey Jen. I know I would love a goat baby. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. You guys, we have new family baby goats. Lissa's goat had babies. I'm obsessed. I know, you're obsessed too. You want to see the goat babies? Yeah, we'll show you the goat babies, don't worry. Secret Husband and I were just talking yesterday about how when this kid sees animals for the first time, it's going to like blow her mind, right? She's going to be like, what is it? It's a giant stuffed animal. It's true. It is a giant stuffed animal. It's a real life stuffed animal. Yes, she's right. She is right. Goat babies. Very excited for goat babies. Are you excited for goat babies? I'm already preparing myself to rewatch today's because kids aren't for. Oh, snow day. Oh, fun. What are you guys doing? Anything interesting? Do you have any fun snow day activities that you like to impart? Say hi, Liz. She said hi. You can't hear her over the coffee maker, but she went, which is her way of saying hello currently. That's about as snow day for you all too. Oh, geez. Okay. So many snow days. It's actually raining here today. It's not raining like at this exact moment, but the ground is wet, which means that it did rain here. So, you know, that's interesting for us. Secret Baby is having her first play date today. Yes, she is. So I have a friend who, wow, Chloe, that's very demanding. I don't know if you can see, but I'm holding a baby and I'm making coffee. And the title of this live is Book Club. So maybe we don't make demands. Maybe we would just say, hey, are you going to make slime? And then I would say, oh, maybe later. And then you would say, oh, okay, cool. And that would be a nice interaction. Make slime sounds very demanding, and people don't like when other people demand things of them. But back to what I was saying. We're having our first play date today because a friend of mine from New York, who also lives here in LA now, had a baby in December. And so we are going to walk around the neighborhood today. So she's going to have her first play date. Yeah. I know. The thing is, Talia, sometimes other people's parents aren't doing the parenting for them. And so even though my baby is only 12 days old, I have to gentle parent some teenagers on here sometimes. I only have just this one baby. This is my only child. Yeah, she's my only one. She is excited. She's very excited. She's currently an only child, and I think that probably also excites her. But who's to say? Oh, look at that. Yum, yum, yum. She also wants to try coffee one day. Thank you, Danielle. That's very sweet. She is very chatty every day. Baby's first play date. I know, we're definitely going to document it. Oh my gosh, for both of them later, because they're only a month apart, or a little bit more than a month apart. I believe my friend's baby was born on the 22nd of December. He was actually due on my birthday, which is the 29th of December. But our baby was born on the 25th of January, so they're barely a month apart, which makes it all the cuter, right? I mean, when they're bigger and they play together, it's going to be adorable because a month is like nothing to kids, you know, when they're bigger. So we're very excited. I've watched you before. You give off such a confidence in your pregnancy and life in general. Oh, thank you, Danielle. That's very sweet of you to say. I'm not sure I always feel that way, but I appreciate the perception. I would have guessed you had a bunch of kids. Oh, thank you. You know what? I used to be a teacher and a nanny, Danielle, so I think that aids to it. You think that Shakespeare's... Well, I have to tell you guys, in Secret Baby's room, her ABCs on her wall are from the Globe Theatre in London. It is Shakespeare's ABCs. So Anya's not that far off. It's not a weird thought, Anya. It's not a weird thought. It does track. We bought that not even knowing that we were going to have her. It was a full year before we found out we were pregnant with her. We were at the Globe and we saw this ABC poster and we said we better buy that to put in our future baby's room. And we bought it and we kept it rolled up until we decorated her room, and then we put it in a frame and we hung it on a wall. Yeah, that's how it went. That's how it went. Yeah, for you. Mommy and Daddy got it for you before we even knew about you. We wanted you to have it. Yeah. Isn't that nice? Yeah, it is nice, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah? Are you having a good morning? Yeah, you are? Yeah, you're having a good morning? Yeah, I have to show you guys. It is really cool, Danielle. I'll take a picture of it and show you guys. It's really neat. I don't know, like, I just saw it and we were like, we should have this, you know? And so we did. Marigold the Witch is here. Hey, Marigold, we're reading a book about witches. It's actually really cool. Maybe you will like it. That's not a joke. I'm not being sarcastic. We literally are reading a witchy book. All right, let us sit down carefully with our coffee and our baby. Put the coffee down so we can put this on the tripod. There we go. All right. Marigold the Witch. I like that. Sounds like someone who would fit in our book. Okay. How are you? How are you? You look good. You look comfy. You really do. Okay. All right. There's a character in our book called Juniper. So, you know, Marigold fits right in, right? Does anybody else play the game, can I eat or drink this without spilling it on the baby? Is that a thing that everyone does or just me? She's fine. I'm not going to spill on her. Don't worry. Hey, Renee.
Renee, you have to send me brands of wraps to get because I can't live on this one alone forever. I need other ones. Not that this one isn't great, it is. It's just a thing you do, that's right. But I need brands, Renee. You must tell me your favorite brands so that I can buy another wrap. So far I haven't spilled on her, Jen, but if I do start spilling, I will get a bib. You're right, a Sasha bib. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Coffee is delicious. We love to see it. We love to have it. We love to drink it. I'm almost done with the current, I'm going to the post office this weekend, but you're going to the post office this weekend, but you send it in a bit. You send links in a bit. Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. Sweet. I'll take them. I am always taking suggestions on baby-friendly items, and Renee is, from what I hear, the queen of wraps. So I'm going to take my wrap suggestions. The Report Me Slime has been keeping me sane this week. Oh my gosh. Oh really, Ray? Well, if anyone's not using some wraps they want to get rid of, I will wrap this child in them, but I will also take suggestions of brands to purchase, yes. Because she has to work with me. So when I go back to work, Secret Baby has to do slime making with mommy, right? Are you comfy? You look comfy. You just had a diaper change and you just ate, so you should be fine. Yeah, you should be fine. Yeah. You are? Okay. We're gonna read. I have a beautiful hand-woven rainbow wrap, but I believe it's toddler, so she'll grow. Oh yeah. Yeah, she will grow. Although I didn't know she was here when she was born on the 25th. She came a little bit early. Not too early, not detrimentally early, no NICU or anything like that, but a little bit early. And she's here now, and she's 12 days old today, and she's chilling, and she has a lot to say. She loves coming to book club because she likes listening to, that's really funny, Jen. I beg you for photos if that happens. Please, you must. It is a requirement for my soul that if you put your cat in a baby wrap, I be a part of it. I don't know if you guys know this, but my brother and sister-in-law put their cats in a stroller and stroll them around New York City. That's not a joke. They are those cat people. They literally put their cats in a stroller in New York City. I was like, you guys, you've taken this to a new level. Aw, thank you, Ashley. That's very sweet of you to say. That's really funny. She wrapped her dog. Yeah, like putting your cat in a stroller, I'm not generally judging, but in New York City, like that feels like they're gonna panic. I tried to stroller for one of my cats, but their cats actually love it, Claire. Like, I'm serious. I've seen videos of their cats just like chilling as they walk down the street. I'm like, wow, this is really their family. They have 3 cats. Only 2 of them like the stroller though. She loves sitting in my hood whenever, oh yeah, so she probably would like it. Their cats, only 2 of them like the stroller, so they don't take all of them out. They leave one at home because he does not like being in the stroller, which is fair. I get it. You know, it is what it is. Real quick question for people who have given birth. When is it okay to sneeze again? They have 3 different breeds, Sassy. 1 giant ginger, 1 tabby, and 1 long-haired black cat. Yeah, so quite a variety of cats. Never. Okay, cool. Never. It's never gonna. Never. You still can't sneeze. Okay. All right. Well, I had to ask, but I got a lot of nevers, so I'm gonna believe you because you all said it independent of one another, which means it's probably true. Currently, sneezing is the only thing that still hurts. Yeah, that's the only thing that still hurts is sneezing. Everything else we're healing very nicely, but sneezing, ouch. Yeah, it just hurts, that's all. Coughing, like if I get something in my throat, yeah, coughing is Velbri, yeah. Yeah, so many muscles. It goes all the way down. Like there's sometimes when I'm feeding her, when Secret Husband is making me laugh, and I'm like, he's like, I thought you liked to laugh. I was like, I love to laugh, and I love that you can make me laugh, but I need you to stop making me laugh while I'm feeding her, because trying to feed her and hold all of my stitches together at the same time, it's too hard. I love that you can make me laugh. I love that we have the same sense of humor. Thank you so much for being a wonderful partner. Please stop, is what I told him. I said, I can't do it. I can't feed the baby and hold my stitches in at the same time. So I need you to not. And he was like, okay. And he stopped, to his credit, but it did hurt. It won't hurt forever. Oh, okay, okay. See, I'm not worried currently about accidentally peeing when I sneeze, which I know is what everyone worries about. Right now, it just hurts to sneeze. It's like, ew. It's not a great feeling. Supposedly in the EU, they pay for pelvic floor therapy, which helps. Oh, all right. Well, let's read our book, and maybe there'll be a spell in the book for it, because most of these spells are for common household and women's things, which I think not hurting when you sneeze after giving birth is exactly that, a woman's thing. I'm actually gonna move you guys slightly closer to me. Hi, what is it? Oh, she's out like a light. She's making sounds, but there's no one home. She's asleep. Okay. Chapter 12. My maiden, let down your long hair, braided tight and shining bright, away where once was none. A spell to escape requiring 3 hairs and nimble fingers. When Beatrice Belladonna runs from the riot on her St. Mary's of Egypt, she knows 2 things for certain: that her youngest sister is alive, and that her middle sister is with her. It shouldn't comfort her to know that Agnes is there. She learned long ago that she could not trust her when it counted, but it does. If anyone could haul their little sister out of this mess that she made and keep her alive through the night, well, it would surely be Agnes. If you're finishing staring at nothing, I would quite like to keep running for our lives now. Beatrice makes a private note that Miss Quinn grows drier and more cutting under pressure, before bunching her skirts in her fists and following right after her. For a woman born and raised in New Cairo, Quinn possesses an uncanny knowledge of the North Side. She leads Beatrice down narrow alleys and nameless back streets, following a winding path that leads them somewhat mystifyingly to the respectable row of houses where Beatrice rents a room. How did you know my address? Miss Quinn gives a very unsorry shrug. Stay inside tonight. The police are awfully scarce this evening, which makes me wonder who's behind this mess. Beatrice wants to say, thank you for saving me, or be careful, or who exactly are you, and what uncanny secrets are you hiding? But Quinn is already turning away and taking long-legged strides down 2nd Street. By the time Beatrice is in her attic room peering down from her round window, Quinn is gone, vanished entirely from the neat grid of streets below. Beatrice dreams that night of witches and traveling bards and golden-haired girls smiling down from a tower window, except her hair isn't golden at all, actually, and her smile is one full of secrets. The following morning, Bella pins her own hair with unusual severity and stares hard at her reflection in the mirror, reminding herself that she is bony and graying and very boring. And then she feels the tug of her sisters through the line, still alive, still together, moving through this city. And she wonders, perhaps, if she's growing less boring the longer that James Juniper remains in New Salem. Beatrice steps into the street just after sunrise, when the shadows lie soft and the air sparks with dew, and hopes very much that Mr. Blackwell will forgive her for missing a 2nd day of work. The headquarters of the New Salem Women's Association are already jammed full of bustling women and urgent whispers. Miss Stone stands behind the front desk like a small general overseeing her troops. Her wig is pinned slightly askew. She's surrounded by people: a handwriting lady wearing a monocle, a roundish woman in very fine dress, a young secretary girl sporting a bruised jaw and sullen expression. Beatrice doesn't think that she noticed the chime of the bell as she enters. Until, that is, she looks up and fixes Beatrice with an iron glare. Miss Eastwood, wasn't it? I thought you were too busy for suffrage. But Miss Stone is already looking back down at the papers spread before her. If you're looking for that sister of yours, she's not here. No, but... And if she has any sense of prudence at all, she will not dare show her face here again. Beatrice deduces from this that Miss Stone was previously unaware of Juniper's little spectacle that she had since become aware of, and that she suffers the mistake of belief that Juniper possesses a sense of prudence. She further deduces that the next several minutes are going to be, well, uncomfortable ones. She manages a faint, "Oh dear," before the bell chimes again, and Juniper herself strides into the office with all the swagger and charm of a prize fighter after winning a match. Staff clacking merrily across the floorboards. Agnes comes slinking in after her, looking like a woman with deep misgivings about her choices. The whispers wither and die. A dozen pairs of eyes lay on Juniper. She gives them a beatific smile. "Morning, ladies. Bella, what are you doing here?" She doesn't wait for an answer. She grabs one of the spindly chairs by the window and perches on the very top edge, knees wide and hands crossed atop her staff, still beaming. "What is it?" "Yeah. Oh, okay." She smiles. Her smile dims when she catches sight of the secretary, the swollen bruise along her jaw. So you made it out all right. Did the others too?" "Oh, that was a good burp, honey." The girl nods, a furtive flash of pride in her eyes. We think Electa got a busted rib, but she'll be all right." It occurs to Beatrice to wonder exactly how they all escaped unscathed, and if perhaps respectable members of the Women's Association have a few words and ways they shouldn't. Neck exercise already, I know, right? She's already doing one of these. Guilt crosses Juniper's face, a foreign expression, but she banishes it with a little shake of her head. "Well, I hope at least we can all agree." Miss Stone, who has now been standing perfectly still, clears her throat to ask, "On what exactly?" And Juniper apparently doesn't hear the tension lurking in Miss Stone's voice like an unsprung trap. She meets her eyes squarely. "That we aren't gonna get a damn thing by asking nice and minding our manners. That we need to make use of every weapon we have, or they'll beat us bloody in the streets." Juniper leans forward and the swaggering smile returns. That it's time for the women's movement to become a witches' movement. The silence following this statement is so profound that Beatrice imagines she can hear the veins pulsing in Miss Stone's temples. Right? Louder for those in the back. For real. Yeah, it's going to become a different kind of movement, guys. Juniper speaks into the quiet, heedless, and was witchin' that saved me in the streets yesterday, and it's witchin' that will win us the vote. More than just the vote. Back in the old days, women were queens and scholars and generals. We could have all that back again. My sister, Bella, this is Agnes, our other sister. A genuine look of horror crosses Miss Stone's face as she contemplates the prospect of yet another Eastwood. Anyway, Bella's been doing some research about that tower we saw in the equinox, and I think it's... Juniper's eyes cross Bella's, and Bella knows that Juniper has guessed what the tower is, what the sign of the 3 circles must mean. "Well, I think it's important that it might bring back witches to this world." Juniper looks around at the still stone women. "So, what do you say?" None of them answer. Miss Stone exhales in a very long sigh into the silence and lowers herself into her chair. She leans back, regarding Juniper with an almost bewildered expression, as if she can't understand how someone so young could be so powerfully irritating. "Miss West, the Women's Association has no interest in your wild theories or dangerous ideas." Hey, Amanda, yes, this is her. Yes, you guessed correctly. She came, and she's right here, 12 days old. The smile slides off Juniper's face like frosting of a too-hot cake. "Well, as a member of the Women's Association, I think..." Miss Stone produces a bitter ha of a laugh. "Oh, you are certainly no longer that. Excuse me? I, as president of the association, do officially expel you from our company and deeply regret ever having granted you membership." Juniper's standing now, fingers white around her staff. "How dare you?" Miss Stone counts on her fingers, her voice very cool. "You organized an illegal assembly against the will of the association. You made a public demonstration of witchcraft. You endangered the lives of 6 fools who followed you into said treason. Saints only know what else you did. The rumors are, well, nearly too wild to believe. Perhaps you have a pair of black horns on your head. Perhaps you can fly. Perhaps you set a demon snake on an innocent child. Beatrice flinches, but no one notices. Look, you wanted to get people's attention, and well, we got it. If you're going to get upset that... Oh, sorry. Wrong voice. Hi, Oliver, sweetheart. How are you? I heard you're feeling not good. Are you feeling better this morning than you did last night? I hope so. Look, we wanted to get people's attention, and we got it. If you're going to get upset that I defended myself, I don't. Miss Stone raises her voice very slightly. Miss Wiggin, the head of the Women's Christian Union, and I might add an adopted daughter of the member of the city council, was injured in this riot. She claims it was an act of witchcraft, and I am disgusted to say I'm unsure whether or not she was lying. Juniper's mouth is open again, but Miss Stone ignores her. She leans forward over the desktop, hands knitted together. I have dedicated the better part of my life to uplifting women. I was there at Seneca at the very beginning. Her fury seems to have blown itself out like a summer storm, leaving her winded and tired. They laughed at us. They derided us, mocked us, printed vicious cartoons in every paper, but yet we kept working. We built organizations all over the country. We saw suffrage laws passed in 3 states, brought attention to the plight of our sex, but now they're no longer laughing, Miss West. Now, thanks to you and your accomplices, they are afraid, and we could lose everything. Juniper strides forward and places her palms on the desk. She's wearing such a blazing intensity that Beatrice feels it scorch her cheeks as she passes. Or we could win it all. If we stop worrying so much about what a woman should and shouldn't do, what's respectable or what's not. If we stand and fight, all of us together. Imagine if there'd been 70 of us marching instead of 7. Miss Stone looks faintly ill at this thought. There's this book that Bella used to read to us when we were little about these 3 French soldiers. What's the thing they said? She throws the question sideways to Beatrice. Beatrice clears her throat, cheeks pinking. All for one and one for all? That's it, yeah. Juniper's face is lit now by some internal glow, a passion like the sun itself. It has to be one for all and all for one, Miss Stone. Every eye is on this young woman with the crow's wing hair and the long jaw and the summer green gaze, like and not like the feral girl child Beatrice remembers. And for a wild moment, Beatrice thinks maybe they're going to listen to her. But Miss Stone laughs. No, it's not a cruel laugh, but Beatrice sees it hit Juniper like a slap. Goodbye, Miss West. I can't wish you luck, for the sake of the city. Juniper straightens from the desk, all glow gone from her eyes, face pinched tight, and gives the room a mocking bow. She limps out of the office door without looking back. She never let their daddy see her cry either. Agnes follows. She pauses to hold the door behind her and looks up at Beatrice, almost as if she's waiting for her, as if they're still little girls tumbling into the farmhouse, 1, 2, 3, holding the door carelessly open behind them for the next one. Well? Agnes sounds annoyed, whether with herself or her sister Beatrice, she can't tell. Beatrice feels Miss Stone's eyes on her face. I don't know you, Miss Eastwood, but you do seem a respectable woman. Those sisters of yours will lead you astray. Beatrice hesitates. She thinks about the fate of the girls who go astray in all the stories. A hot iron and shoes, a glass coffin, witches' ovens. She thinks about St. Hale's, a prison built especially for straying girls. But then Beatrice looks at Agnes, still waiting for her, half scowling, and she thinks about what else awaits those gone astray girls. The daring escapades, the wild dances, the midnight trysts, and the star-lit spells, a whole world's worth of disreputable delights. Beatrice bows her head as she leaves. I do hope so, Miss Stone. Agnes is about to give up and close the damn door behind her, to hell with Bella and the suffragists both, when Bella finally makes up her mind. She goes sailing past Agnes, spine uncrooked, cheeks pink with some private pleasure. Their eyes meet and then slide away. Juniper's already stamping down the street, clacking her staff with such aggression that passers-by scuttle aside. Those thrice damn boot-licking shit witches. Too cuss cowardly to take a damn stand. What the hell with all of them. She spins to face a plate glass window of the association headquarters, and she crosses her fingers in a gesture of exceptional rudeness that makes Bella choke. June, she says. But Juniper spins back to face her sisters. Her eyes are bright and green as foxfire. So, what do you say? Say to what? Juniper looks at Bella like she wants to grab her by the shoulders and shake her. To witching, to the lost ways of Avalon. Bella shushes her, casting worried looks at the genteel bustle of the streets. Mothers with their hats just so, and children with their clothes starched stiff, maids with baskets of fresh white laundry, and gentlemen checking their pocket watches. It strikes Agnes suddenly how ludicrous it is that they should be plotting the second age of witching in the middle of a sunny, orderly street on the North End. Surrounded by clerks and investors and clean limestone, surely it calls for a haunted moor or a misted cemetery. Bella says, low and urgent, Juniper, I don't know what you know or think you know about that tower, but I assure you I don't have the secret recipe for Avalon stuffed inside my socks. Juniper crosses her arm and runs her tongue over her teeth. I know you know more than you told me, though. Bella stutters, and Agnes marvels that she grew up in their daddy's house without learning how to lie properly. Yes, all right, I did. I found some words the day that the tower appeared. I don't know what came over me. I spoke them aloud, and then... She gestures upwards, recalling the splitting seam of the sky and the dark tower. Juniper stares hard for another second, and then she grins. You snake. I knew it was you. Why didn't you tell me? Bella fumbles for an answer, but Agnes perfectly understands why a person might hesitate to give a vicious, vengeful girl the key to a mysterious and boundless power. There were stories in the old days about whole cities put to sleep, kingdoms frozen over in endless winter, armies reduced to rust and ash. Juniper waves away Bella's stutter. Doesn't matter now. The real question is, why haven't you done it again? Because it wasn't a complete spell. It's missing some of the words and, well, it's missing all of the ways. Well, then find them. That's exactly what you gotta do. And your lady friend, that's what you've been up to all those late nights in the library then, right? A flush creeps up Bella's neck. She's not my... Well, Miss Quinn and I have been searching. We've been collecting some scraps, some possibilities, but we have nothing but theories so far. So let's test them. Bella looks doubtful as Juniper presses on, heedless. Listen, ever since the equinox, the three of us have been bound together, haven't we? Bella tisks, sliding her spectacles up along her nose. An effect of the unfinished spell. I told you that. Yeah, well, how come the three of us were pulled into that spell in the first place? After 7 years apart, what drew us together when our oldest sister got stupid and just read some words aloud? Juniper lowers her voice. And before that, didn't you feel something tugging you towards the square? Agnes remembers it, a line reeling her in, a finger prodding her between her shoulder blades towards the square. Agnes remembers it, a line reeling her in, a finger prodding her between her shoulder blades. She taught us, what is lost that can't be found? Bella blinks several times and murmurs, I do. Yes? Well, I think maybe magic wants to be found, and I think maybe we're the ones who's supposed to find it. What, like fate? That's the first thing Agnes has said since they stepped outside. Both her sisters flinch at the venom of it. Like destiny? Fate is a story people tell themselves so they can believe everything happens for a reason. That the whole world is awful, the whole awful world is fitted together like some perfect machine, with blood for oil and bones for brass, that every child locked in her cellar or girl chained to her loom is in her right and proper place. But she doesn't care much for fate. Even Juniper looks a little cowed by whatever she sees in Agnes's face. No, maybe not. Maybe it's just luck that Bella found the spell, that the three of us wound up in St. George Square. On the equinox. A maiden, she taps her own chest. A mother, she nods to Agnes. And Bella casts such a baffled, owlish look that Agnes suspects she didn't notice the swell of her belly until this very second. Her mouth makes a perfect and very small and a crone. Juniper points at Bella, who makes a disgruntled sound, like the last three themselves. How dare she call Bella a crone? How dare she? Very rude. None of them speak for a moment, and Juniper limps across a little closer until they stand in a tight-knit circle of three. Their hands are nearly touching. Maybe Agnes is right, and it's all horseshit. But what if it isn't? What if we can make every woman in this city into a witch, just like that? Juniper snaps her fingers. No more reading witch tales in books. Belle, you could write them yourself, and no more ship work for ship money, Ag. No more being nothing. Her voice thickens on the last word. Thank you, yes, thank you for the congratulations. She's here. Juniper breathes hard through her nose and asks them a second time. So, what do you say? All right. Bella looks stunned by the sound of her own voice. Yes, I'll do it. Juniper swivels to Agnes. And you? Will you help us? Her jaw is set, her eyes are shining, and Agnes marvels at the contradiction of her. Bright-eyed and black-hearted, vicious and vulnerable, a girl who knows so little of the world and also far too much of it. A part of Agnes wants to say yes just so she can keep an eye on her, except she doesn't get to choose for herself anymore. She smooths her blouse over her belly and says, I can't start any trouble, for her sake. Juniper looks down at her hand. Oh, I think you've got to, for her sake. She meets Agnes's eyes, challenging. Don't you want to give her a better story than this one? Agnes does, oh how she does, to see her daughter grow free and fearless, walking tall through the dark woods of the world, armed and armored, to whisper in her ear each night, don't forget what you are. Everything. Agnes's throat is too full up of wanting to even speak. Bella offers tentatively, you know, the mother herself started all sorts of trouble in the stories. I mean, I wish, her voice lowers, I think it might have been better for us if we'd had a more troublesome mother. Agnes looks between them, her wild sister and her wise sister, and she nods her head just once. Yep, time does fly. Thank you, Cat. Juniper is whooping and thumping Agnes too hard on the back, already badgering Bella about the lost way, and Bella is shushing her to no discernible effect. When the footsteps sound behind them, Agnes turns to see the secretary girl from the Women's Association with her corn silk hair and her blue bruised jaw. As she approaches, Agnes sees she's not as mousy as she thought. Her eyes are hard, shining with newborn conviction. Jenny? Juniper asks. What I want to join. Jenny says it very fast, like a person diving into cold water before they can change their mind. That's nice, Juniper says. Join who? Jenny frowns as if she thinks Juniper's making fun of her. Well, you. Her eyes skitter to Agnes and Bella. Your new society. Bella starts to say something calm and reasonable, like there's been some sort of misunderstanding. We're not forming a society at all. Sorry for your trouble. But Juniper is already reaching out a welcoming hand, smiling with all the glee of a missionary contemplating a convert. Why, Jenny, you can be our very first member. Bella makes a wheezy, punctured tire of a noise. Oh, I'm not sure. I don't know. But Juniper has an arm slung over Jenny's shoulder, and Jenny is smiling a shy smile. Well, Bella says, there were really 4 musketeers anyway. Well. Apparently we've reached something called part 2. I didn't know there was that. This part is called Hand in Hand. Well, let me get a sip of coffee and then we will continue. What's going to happen now? Who's to say? Who is to say? Tell your tale and tell it true. Cross my heart and hope to die. Strike me down if I lie. A spell for secrets kept and told, requiring bindweed and blood. The Calamitous Coven. No. Eve's Army. No. It ought to be about, I don't know, sisterhood or a union. The ladies' union of giving the bastards what's coming to them. James Juniper, if you can't be serious, at least be quiet. Juniper subsides, slouching lower against the wall. As a clandestine society of would-be witches, Juniper had anticipated that their first order of business would be exciting and magical, like burning the sign of the three across City Hall or turning Hawthorne River to blood. But her sisters and Miss Jenny Lind apparently thought otherwise. The four of them had been stuck in Agnes's cabbagey room at South Sybil for hours now, discussing safe houses, membership oaths, and other disappointingly unwitching subjects. Jenny is even taking honest-to-goodness Eve notes, sitting on Agnes's bed with Bella's little black book propped up on her knees. She's the one who suggested that their society even have a name, although she so far ignored each of Juniper's excellent suggestions. The Sisters of Sin. Jenny's pen does not move. What about, Bella begins and then bites her lip, what about the Sisters of Avalon? It takes less than a second of silence for Bella to begin backtracking and hand-wringing. Well, no, perhaps not. It sounds like the Daughters of Tituba, and we hardly want to be mistaken for make-believe, and it's also provocative, and the association ourselves is so openly with the last three. But Agnes is smiling, and Jenny's pen is moving across the top of the page, and Juniper can feel the names settling over them, shining in their faces. Juniper has a goose-fleshed premonition that it would be printed in the papers and on wanted posters, whispered through alleys and mill floors, passed like a lantern from hand to hand. The Sisters of Avalon, they call themselves. Did you hear? The looks exchanged, the flash of longing in their eyes. It's excellent. Jenny finishes the last flourish of the name. And what about titles and duties? Should they be elected positions, do you think? I forgot to shut the window. That's why it's so loud. We were trying to air out the place. Juniper finds that this somewhat dampens the shine of their new name. Positions? Well, I mean secretary, treasurer, president, vice president, press liaison, head of recruitment. Jenny ticks them off on her fingers. Saints, there's only 4 of us. That's right, Amanda. Sounds like a problem for the head of recruitment. Juniper flicks a ball of lint at Jenny, and Jenny dodges without taking her eyes from her paper. Bella offers tentatively, I could be the press liaison. I have a contact at the newspaper business. Bella doesn't look at any of them as she says it, and Juniper wonders if she means that colored woman in the gentleman's coat, and why should that cause her to blush a vivid pink? She recalls a little uneasily that there were rumors back home about her oldest sister, too. Jenny writes something in the notebook. Full name? Beatrice Eastwood. Jenny hesitates. Why do your sisters call you Bella? Juniper says, well, because that's the name our mama gave her. Sorry, Juniper says this. Because that's the name our mama gave her. Beatrice Belladonna Eastwood. Bella shifts uncomfortably, and Juniper sighs at her. Honestly, if we can't use our mother's name in a secret society of witches, when can we, huh? Jenny finishes writing and turns an expectant eye to Agnes, who looks very close to rolling her eyes. I can ask around, I suppose. She makes a circle with her index finger, indicating that either the South Civil boarding house, the neighborhood of West Babel, or the entirety of New Salem. Does that make me in charge of recruitment? Name? Agnes Eastwood. Juniper tosses a second ball of lint at her. Oh, fine. Agnes Amarantha Eastwood. Oh, no, we're not using her name on here, just for safety, you know. But you can call her Jasmine or Gracelyn. She's got a lot of funny TikTok names. So she looks like a little Jasmine's her favorite princess, and she has black hair, which you can see. Oops, jeez. So she's got, I don't know how to show it there. You can see her little black hair. Boop, boop. But yeah, she's got black hair, and you can call her Secret Baby or Jasmine or whatever like that. Jenny finishes and turns an expectant looking eye. Oh wait, sorry, we already read that. There's a brief exchange of glances between the sisters, and Juniper asks, what does it mean to be present exactly? Jenny makes her a seesaw motion with her head, corn silk hair swinging. Well, not much really, if we agree to the collective decision-making process. The phrase recalls an endless meeting of the Women's Association, and Juniper gives an involuntary shudder. Yeah, but in the association, Miss Stone was the heart of us. There's a gray note in Jenny's voice, like regret, and Juniper shrugs away a prickle of guilt. It was Jenny's own damn choice to follow her out the association door.
She was our director. We all steered the ship. She was our compass. Jenny looked at Juniper as she finishes, frowning a little, and Juniper looks away. Yeah, well, we can vote on it later. Let's talk about getting some girls signed up, head of recruitment. But Bella says anxiously, I'm not sure how many people we ought to recruit. What would we be recruiting them to, exactly? Juniper says, well, hell-raising. Just as Jenny says, yes, we need a constitution and a declaration of intent. Juniper considers for several consecutive seconds and offers, intent to raise hell? The other sisters of Avalon ignore her, and she tries again, to bring about the second age of witching, to get back what was stolen from us. That might be a little much, don't you think? Bella clears her throat over Juniper's mutter, you're a little much. How about to restore the rights and the powers of womankind? Jenny writes down what Bella frets, but Bella always frets. Without the lost way, we don't have any power to restore. I'm not sure anyone would sign up for moonbeams and witch tales. Her hands are twisting in her lap, chapped and ink stained. Agnes is standing by the window, looking out at the gray alley. You're forgetting a whole street of people just saw a woman set a viper on a boy because he gave her a little trouble. A little trouble, Agnes continues. By now, the city will be rotten with rumors. People will be scared, scandalized, but some of them will want to know more. They need to know more. What if what June says is true anyway? Juniper had told them about the shadows at the riot and the sick shine of Miss Wiggins' smile. She doesn't know how convinced they are, but she had seen them sidestepping the shadows and looking twice in dark alleyways and doorways. And who knows, Agnes continues, they might have some witching of their very own. Every woman has a handful of spells from her aunt or a cousin or a mama. Jenny objects, not every woman. Well, most women then. There's a stiffness in Jenny's face, a wordless denial. Bella's watching her. And how did you and the other girls escape the riot exactly if there wasn't any witching involved? A stiffness cracks. Jenny chews her lips. Her cheeks are pinking. Oh, it was nothing. Just a little spell. Her cheeks slide past pink and head straight for scarlet. To, tie shoelaces together. Juniper cackles because the image of dozens of rioters tripping over their own feet is a delightful one, but Bella asks boringly, that sounds like men's magic, or boys at least. Jenny isn't looking at any of them, face draining to a blotched white. I had a brother. Even Juniper hears the past tense and shuts the hell up. Agnes wades into the hush. Well, wherever you learned it, I think your friends are grateful. Jenny gives her a twist of a smile. And even boys' pranks have some use. Maybe our words and ways don't seem like much all scattered around the way they are, but if we pull them all together... Agnes trails off, but Bella continues in a hushed voice. I could collect them, record them, the first grimoire of the modern age. For reasons that are obscure to Juniper, the prospect of so much writing and reading makes Bella's eyes shine and her frets vanish. The rest of the evening is a series of debates and schemes. Jenny recalls that the Women's Association ran regular ads in the New Salem Post, encouraging interested parties to visit their headquarters and suggest that the sisters do the same. Agnes notes dryly that they don't have a headquarters, and she said and that they wouldn't want anyone to know where it was if they did have one, and that the New Salem Post would never run an advertisement for witchcraft anyway. Thank you, Lisa. Bella makes a humming noise and mutters that if there are other reputable papers in the city, if they have some means of ensuring an invitation reached only sympathetic eyes. A thought seems to strike her. Do you think Cross My Heart and Hope to Die could be altered for mass production? She snatches their notebook back from Jenny and sinks for some time into her own notes, murmuring to herself. By the nightfall, the members of the Sisters of Avalon have gone their separate ways, and Bella presents their proposal to Miss Quinn and the staff of the Defender. Agnes goes to rustle up the witch ways from someone called Madame Zena, and Jenny goes to check on Inez and Electa and other members of Juniper's small rebellion, inviting them to join a much bigger rebellion. Hello, are you okay? Oh, just getting comfy? Okay. Juniper lingers in Agnes's room and steals a handful of salt from a pot on the table and tosses a line of it across the threshold and the window ledge, thinking of Mags. Honey to keep things closed and salt to keep things out. She thinks, too, of the wrong-shaped shadows rolling and oozing through the streets, prying at the shutters and sliding under loose-hung doors. Juniper limps over to the bed where Bella's little black notebook lies open, and she flips through the pages and squints at Jenny's tidy handwriting. Beatrice Belladonna Eastwood, press liaison. Agnes Amaranth Eastwood, recruitment. Jenny Gemini Lind, secretary/treasurer, with the mother's name written in a shaky, uncertain hand, as if she was unsure of the spelling of it. Oh yes, she is a good baby. Though I will tell you, I don't believe that there's any such thing as a not good baby. I think all babies are good. That is my personal belief. I don't think that any baby comes into the world not good. And at the very bottom of the page, neat and firm, it says, James Juniper Eastwood, President. As a rule, Agnes walks out of the Baldwin Brothers bond mill and keeps walking. She doesn't linger, chat, or laugh. She doesn't head to the dance halls or the evening sermons or the markets with the other girls. She keeps her eyes on the pavement and walks the hell home. But on the 11th of May, just as the afternoon is softening like butter into a warm evening, she waits. She leaves the dim tomb of the mill and leans against the heat of the brick, shifting her weight from one foot to the other, trying to lift the baby off of her bladder. Mr. Malton isn't the sort of boss to grant extravagant privy breaks to a girl just because he says she can't keep her knees shut. He's been eyeballing Agnes's belly as it grows, pressing hard against the bar of the loom. Just this afternoon, he tapped it with his red sausage fingers. You get 3 days for bearing. When she's 4 days old, you can work in the rag picker's room. Agnes closed her eyes so he wouldn't see the white lick of rage in them. Her daughter will not grow up in the sunless dark of the mill, breathing dust and fumes, huddling next to the steam pipes in the winter to keep warm. Her daughter will not be nothing. Agnes unclenches her jaw in the alley. There are knots and strings of women gathering nearby, but she doesn't look at them. Instead, she looks at the thin strip of sky above, the hungry green of the weeds, reaching thin fingers between the cobbles, crabgrass, and chickweed, and dust nettle. Agnes can't recall if there were this many weeds last spring. There's a cluster of women forming down the alley, a copy of The Defender spread between them. None of them, Agnes imagines, are regular subscribers to the New Cairo radical colored paper, but the Sisters of Avalon purchased several dozen extra copies of this particular issue and distributed them through the boarding houses and mailrooms of the West Side. She was born on the 25th. Agnes catches a raised voice. Well, it's nonsense is what it is. Pure fancy. Somebody's idea of a joke, I must say. Or, suggests another, conspiratorially, it's a trap. The police never did find that snake or the witch who made the snake, did they? Maybe they think they're being clever. There's a low, doubtful mutter at this, and Agnes figures that it's more or less the opening she's been waiting for. She wishes that she had the wit or zeal to convince them, but she's not her sisters, so she merely stalks towards the gathered women and waits for them to notice her squared shoulders. Yeah, well, it's not a trap, she says quietly, or a trick. All of them are staring at her the way that you would stare at an alley cat suddenly singing an opera. Agnes understands why. She hasn't spoken a single spare word to them other than bobbin's busted or watch your shuttle in 5 words of working shoulder to shoulder with them. Yes, January 25th. She's 12 days old. One of them huffs loudly, but another one shushes her, and Agnes chances a glance at the one shusher's face and recognizes her vaguely as the new girl who got her hair caught in the loom last spring. The machine sucked her into itself, slick and fast, as if her body was another thread. She screamed, and under the screaming was the wet rip of hair from her scalp. That is, until Agnes sliced through it with a pair of shears. The girl fell to the ground, weeping and moaning, shuddering her thanks, and Agnes told her to pin up her hair if she wanted to keep what was left of it. She never did learn her name. Hi, sweetheart. Hi. Hi. What's the matter? Are we having a time in our diaper? Yeah? Are we making something in our diaper? Let's see. Where was I? The girl is a year older now and a year harder. Her hair is pulled tight beneath the gray kerchief, and her eyes are the color of coins. That's so, she says level and flat like a woman paying off her debt. Agnes meets her eyes. Yeah, well, did any of you try it yet? When you're ready, we'll get a diaper change. Embarrassed and shuffling, a click of the tongue, the rustle of a hastily folded newspaper shoved down someone's apron front. On the 6th page of the newspaper, in the section generally reserved for advertisements selling maybe pomades or tobacco, Madam C.J. Walker's wonderful scalp ointment, there was half a page in solid black ink and large white capitals. Here are the words: "Witches of the world, unite." Lisa, I actually did an entire video about that, so it's a little too much to go into during book club, but if you want to, there's a whole video that goes through our entire birth story and everything, if that's the kind of thing that's interesting to you. Some people love them, some people hate them, so that's where it is. The text below invites women of all ages and backgrounds to join the Sisters of Avalon, a newly formed suffrage society dedicated to the restoration of women's rights and powers. Interested parties are instructed to prick their fingers and smear the blood across the advertisement while chanting the provided words, which would, if the blood belonged to a woman, and if that woman bears the sisters no ill intent, reveal a time and location. A Miss Inez Gilmore purchased the ad on behalf of the sisters, signing the check with a merry flourish that Agnes both envied and resented. Bella and Juniper provided the spell, fussing for days between bindweed, blood, and ink, their fingertips gone purplish red from repeated needle pricks, and Agnes provided the location against all better judgment. Who would ever suspect a shabby, respectable South Civil boarding house as the site of a seditious organization? Agnes gestures to the poorly hidden newspaper. Go ahead, try it, speak the words, feel the worth of them. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that you found it informative. Thank you for saying so. That's really kind of you. There were words 3 of them had used as girls to leave messages for one another, the ones they didn't want their daddy to see. Meet me at the Hollow Oak, or staying at Max's tonight. It's true, witchin', stronger than anything your mother's ever taught you. One of them, Agnes thinks, is the same broad, ruddy-cheeked woman who laughed with her over Floyd Matthews, and she gives a quiet, doubtful, huh, as if her mother had taught her a thing or two. Agnes holds both palms up in surrender, but continues, yeah, well, and there's more where that came from. Lots more. Well, some more, at least. Think of what you might do with a little real witching in your life. Agnes can see her words working on them, tugging at the loose threads of their hearts. There were women who were never tempted by the suffragists or their rallies or their high-minded editorials in the paper, but oh, they wanted to vote. What woman didn't want it, aside from maybe Miss Wiggins and her fellow fools? These were women who knew the difference between wanting and needing. Their vote could feed their children or shorten their shifts. It could cure a fever or keep a husband faithful or stop Mr. Malton's reaching fingers. Their vote couldn't do those things, but maybe witching could do those things. The girl with the tight-pinned hair and the coin-colored eyes chucks her chin at Agnes. Are you one of them, then? Agnes flinches a little at the them, at being something rather than a simple one, but she ducks her head in a nod. The broad woman makes another derisive sound. Well, good for you, eh? Her accent is cold and jagged like a snow-cut mountain. I would never risk my children in such a way. Her eyes linger pointedly on Agnes's round belly, flicking one ringless finger at her. There are murmurs of agreement of some of the others. Shame bubbles acidly in Agnes's throat, followed very quickly by anger. She regards the big woman, mouth thin and hard, red veins cackled under milky cheeks, eyes like iced over lakes. How many children do you have, ma'am? She puffs out her chest. Well, 6 daughters, all healthy and all hard workers. And your daughters, they're safe, do you think? A frozen eye narrows. Agnes presses. They'll grow without knowing hunger or want or a man's hand raised against them. They won't go blind in a mill or lose their fingers packing meat. Now the woman's shoulders are straining against the seams of her blouse, her face reddening. Well, they will not get themselves, she says a long, chilly word that sounds like it might be Russian for knocked up. Without a husband, that's for damn sure. Agnes cuts her off. And their husbands, they'll treat them kindly. They won't lose their paychecks in bar rooms or gambling halls, and they won't die young, and they won't beat their wives for back talk or burn dinner. Agnes knows she's going too far. She's saying too much, but she can't seem to stop. And if they do, will your daughters keep their own daughters safe? Her voice crackles and bleeds like a split lip. If their mother had been a true witch instead of merely a woman, she would have saved her own daughters from the man she married, wouldn't she? Or would she at least have lived? Agnes swallows hard into the silence. She can feel glancing, winging past her. It's just a risk to be a woman, in my experience, no matter how healthy or hardworking she is. A great weariness washes over her as she says it, a grim bone-tiredness that makes her want to walk away and keep walking until she finds someplace soft and green and safe to have her child, but no place exists. A voice very much like Juniper's whispers, "Yet," in her ear. And none of the women answer her. Agnes is turning to leave, feeling like she should go find Jenny and tell her she needs a new title because honestly she's a piss-poor recruiter, when the woman in gray with a kerchief says, "What's your name?" "Agnes." She hesitates for half a second before adding, "Amaranth." There's a quick hiss of breath around her. Mother's names are things that are shared between friends and sisters, not offered in a grim alleyway to strangers. The kerchiefed woman raises her chin. "Annie Asadov." She nods to the women around her, and this is Ruthie and Martha, and the big one's Yulia. Yulia merely crosses her arms a little harder, her eyes still narrow and frozen. Annie snaps her fingers and holds out her hand to Martha, who withdraws a crumpled copy of The Defender from her apron, and she hands it over. Annie removes a pin from her hair. It's pointed and gleaming and sharp in the buttery light. She gives Agnes a hard little nod, like one soldier to another. "All right, we'll be seeing you there, Agnes Amaranth." Maybe she's not as bad at recruiting as she thought. Beatrice and her sisters close 9 o'clock in the evening because 9 o'clock is a woman's hour. The dinners have been served and the dishes have been dried and stacked. The children are tucked into bed. The whiskeys are poured and served to the husbands. It's the hour where a woman might sit in stillness, scheming and dreaming. But on the 17th of May, some of them are doing more than just dreaming. Beatrice sees them from the scummed glass of the window of number 7 South Civil. They come in 1s and 2s, sometimes 3s, their shadows like soft velvet beneath the gas lamps, their cloaks pulled tightly around their shoulders. It isn't chilly, but there's a fretful wind chasing them down the streets and plucking hairs loose from their pins and tugging at their skirts. It's hard to tell in the gloom, but Beatrice thinks that some of the women are very young. Their hair is plaited, and their steps are eager, and some of them are very old. Some of them stride quickly, and others skitter like mice across a kitchen floor. Some of them have apron strings and patched elbows showing beneath their cloaks, and some of them gleam with pearls and rings. She hears the creak of the boarding house door and the patter of feet on the stairs. The rush of eager whispers in the hall. A helpless panic tremors through Beatrice, and she glances to her younger sister, mute and beseeching. Juniper advises her to get her panties untwisted and sit tight, but she rests an awkward hand on Beatrice's shoulder as she says it. The damp heat of her palm tells Beatrice that she too feels it. The sense that they're teetering on an old unseen edge, perched at the beginning of an untold story. There's an uncertain knock at the door. "Come on in," Juniper calls, and they do. Miss Electa Gage and Inez Gilmore are followed by a gaggle of other girls stolen from the Women's Association, a knot of grim-looking mill girls with colorless kerchiefs and skeptical expressions, and an unsmiling girl with long black hair and cedar-colored skin, a pair of rather disputable-looking sisters who introduce themselves as Victoria and Tennessee, spiritualists and magnetic healers and mediums. Miss Quinn appears at the head of a stately delegation of black women who regard the room with the expression, sorry, I had to prove that I was human, with an expression of deepest skepticism. Quinn shoots Beatrice her cat's grin, causing Beatrice to stand up, forget whatever it is she intended to do, and then sit back down and study the backs of her own hands for a while. She hadn't been at all certain that Miss Quinn would even come. She'd helped them with their advertisement, working with Juniper and Beatrice long after the offices of the Defender should have closed to set the spell into ink and lead. It was only after the last page had rolled through the press that Quinn glanced sideways at Juniper. "Am I invited to this meeting, Miss Eastwood?" "Well, sure." Quinn's face remained very neutral. "How very broad-minded of you." "Well, one for all and all for one," Juniper declared nobly. She ruined this immediately thereafter by adding with some relish, "Daddy'd roll over in his grave if he could see us. He fought for the Yanks, but only because they gave him $50 and a bottle of rye." Miss Quinn tilted her head. "Tell me, Miss Eastwood, how much of this," she gestured to the stacks of still warm newspaper the witching ways scattered across the desktop, "is designed purely to spite your father?" Juniper ran her tongue over her teeth with a simmering expression that made Beatrice wince in anticipation, but in the end she only said, "Come to the meeting, Miss Quinn. Bring your friends." Quinn had. Beatrice watches them covertly as they settle into their seats. There's a camaraderie among them, a usual deference to Quinn's posture, which confirms to Beatrice's theories. Following the riot on St. Mary's of Egypt, Beatrice watched Quinn more closely. She considered her keenness of her interest in their researches and the words and the ways that she already possessed, the times she left abruptly or disappeared for days in a row, never quite saying where she'd gone. The mildly scandalizing whispers that colored journalist, who was often seen entering and leaving at all manners of unlikely place across the city. The several occasions she accidentally referred to herself as a we instead of an I. Beatrice was no detective, but even a librarian might consult a bound volume of minutes from the annual convention of the Colored Women's League. She might run her finger down the members list at the back and pause at C.P. Quinn, wondering if perhaps the league was interested in less respectable activities of their literature than that which their literature suggested. Hi, sweet girl. We're almost done. Beatrice is distracted by a flurry of new arrivals, a mother and a daughter whispering in Yiddish, Madame Zena, the midwife, a trio of women in alarming dress who greet Juniper and Agnes as if they're old friends. Juniper beams. "Glad you and the girls could make it, Miss Pearl." "Who are they?" Beatrice asked Agnes in an undertone. "They're whores," Agnes whispers back. Beatrice had not previously been aware that one's entire body could blush. Miss Pearl and her girls take seats at the very front. One of them, a freckled honey-colored girl, glances back at Miss Quinn. They exchange a charged look so fleeting that Beatrice is half convinced she imagined it. By 10 after 9, there are so many women crammed into Agnes's room at number 7 that it shouldn't logically contain them all. Beatrice knows that, in fact, it doesn't logically contain them all. Over the previous week, Agnes had approached other occupants of South Sybil's boarding house. Number 12, it transpired, was the home of a truly astonishing number of sisters and cousins and second cousins from Kansas who had charmed their rooms to be, well, rather larger on the inside than it was on the outside. They gave Agnes the necessary ways and the words, and now number 7 is large enough for 6 rows of borrowed chairs and 24 women. It no longer seemed quite so gray and miserable, and the wet earth smell of witching chased away the smell of overcooked cabbage. Yesterday, Beatrice even saw a robin nesting in the eaves outside the window. Right? It totally is, Jen. Nearly all the chairs are full. There are no more taps at the door. The whispers and the shuffles of the women fall away in eerie concert, and they're replaced by an expectant stillness. Eyes swivel to the front of the room where Beatrice and her sisters sit. Beatrice sees Juniper's throat bob as she stands, fist tight around her staff. She glances back at her older sister, suddenly looking young and raggedy and not at all like the president of a suffragist society. He passes down the line from Agnes to Juniper, a rush of second-hand strength. Juniper squares her shoulders and turns back to the room full of waiting women. Welcome, she begins, her voice bright and clear, to the first meeting of the Sisters of Avalon. Juniper introduces Beatrice and Agnes and Jenny, and she thanks the gathered women for answering the advertisement and reads their mission statement from a creased page held in her hand, stumbling a little and sounding like a schoolgirl reading from the Bible. She folds the paper and fixes them with a green-lit gaze. So that's why we're here. Her voice is steady now. How about you all tell me why you're all here? A nervous silence follows. It lingers, escalating towards the unbearable, until a flat voice calls from the back. My brother gets 50 cents a day to work at the mill, and I get a quarter for the same damn work. The court took my son, hisses someone else, said he belonged to his father by law. Miss Pearl offers, Well, they arrested 2 of my girls on immortality and not one of their customers. The end of her sentence is lost in a sudden flood of complaints. Bank loans that they can't receive, schools that they can't attend, husbands they can't divorce, and votes that they can't take, and positions they can't hold. Juniper holds up a hand. You're here because you want more for yourselves, better for your daughters, because it's easy to ignore women. Juniper's lips twist into a feral smile. But it's a hell of a lot harder to ignore witches. The word witch cracks like lightning over the room, and another silence follows, tense and electric. A voice cuts through the hush, hard and foreign sounding. Well, there's no such thing as witches, not anymore, the big Russian woman from Agnes's mill says, arms crossed like a pair of pistols across her breath. Yep, totally, Jen. It's amazing. No, Juniper parries her. But there will be. How? Juniper looks again at her sisters, and Beatrice knows from the jut of her jaw that she's about to say the thing that they agreed she should not say, at least not until their first meeting, and there's nothing she can do about it. She smiles benevolently down at the Russian woman. By calling back the lost ways of Avalon. The faces of the gathered women contort into 24 separate species of shock. Shocked outrage, shocked belief, shocked confusion, shocked hunger. And then the room erupts as the ones who know the story retell it to the ones who don't. A handful of women gather their skirts and scuttle for the exit with horrified expressions. Miss Quinn just laughs softly at all the chaos. Juniper arches her voice high over the noise. We don't have the ways in the woods yet, but we will soon. And Beatrice wonders how she manages to sound so sure, so confident, as if they're likely to find a map to an ancient power tucked into their skirt pockets. And in the meantime, we propose an exchange. Each one of you knows a spell or 2 or 3 or maybe even more. You share them with the sisters, and then together, the Russian interrupts again. Spells to clean and laundry, to scour pots, fair. I know a spell that can kill a man stone dead, Juniper says softly. Would you like to hear it? The Russian doesn't answer. I bet some of these other ladies know more than they said. And small spells are still worth something. You heard about those Union boys in Chicago, right? Look what the hell they raised with nothing but a little bit of rust. Beatrice refrains from noting that they were men, and thus far less likely to be hunted, tried, and burned by a jury of their peers. One of the other mill girls, a kerchiefed woman about Agnes's age, says unexpectedly, well, my cousin was there with Debs and the railway union. He's back home now, at least for a little while. I could talk to him if you like. Someone else sneers. Yeah, men's magic. Wouldn't do a damn thing for us. Jenny fidgets at the front, corn silk hair sliding to cover her face. Juniper addresses that sneer. Yeah, and who told you that? What if your daddy or your preacher or your mama was dead wrong? She nods to the kerchief girl. You, Annie, talk to your cousin, 'cause why not? She throws her gaze around the rest of the room. Why not at least try? Join us, learn from us, teach us, fight with us, for all the more you want. The gestures behind her to where Beatrice and the notebook lies open on the table. Add your name to the list, swear the oath if you're interested, and if not, she slants her eyes to the door, head on home and forget that you ever dreamed for anything better. In the silence that follows, the Russian woman climbs to her feet. A pair of girls stand with her, so broad-shouldered and blue-eyed that they can only be her daughters. And there's a long moment when Beatrice is certain that the 3 of them are headed for the door. Half of the room will follow, unswayed by the shine of Juniper's smile, that the Sisters of Avalon will fail before it's even started. But the big woman stalks to the table. She grips the pen in her awkward fingers and signs her name on the page, right beneath the heading written by Jenny's neat hand, the Sisters of Avalon. And then Juniper, grinning. Many chairs are scraping. Many women are climbing to their feet. They're forming a rough line leading to the table. And their book, their bright eyes, their chins are high. Their voices stuttering over the words. Tell your tale and tell it true. Cross my heart and hope to die, and strike me down if I lie. Only Miss Quinn and her companions remain sitting. Beatrice threads her way across the room and perches beside them. An excellent showing, Mrs. Eastwood, Quinn nods. Thank you. Will you join us? Quinn's eyes meet her very briefly, a yellow flick, and Beatrice can't name the thing that she sees in them. Maybe it's regret, maybe it's guilt. Oh no, Miss Quinn says. I think not. There's a rustle beside her as the oldest of her companions climbs to her feet, a very small, very brown woman wearing a very wide-brimmed hat and a black lace veil. There's something very familiar about her that Beatrice can't place. No, I'm afraid we're not interested in, she makes a gesture at the clattering woman in the packed room, publicity. Well, what are you interested in then? A flash of teeth behind the veil. Power, Miss Eastwood. She nods regally, and her companions stand beside her. Please do let us know if you find any of it. The woman adjusts the handbag on her elbow, and Beatrice imagines for a spine-prickling second that she sees an animal peering out of it, a sleek furred creature with ember eyes. But then the woman and her handbag are gone, leaving behind a faint peppery scent of clove, and Quinn follows shortly after. Beatrice watches them go, wondering precisely what goes on at meetings of the Colored League. She stations herself beside Juniper and watches the list of names growing longer. Some of their mothers' names are unusually short, hi baby, alternative and botanic, like Annie Asphodel Finn, Florence Foxglove Pearl, but some of them are strange and foreign, like Gertrude Redbird Bonnen, or Rose Hava Wilslow, Frankie Ursa Black. She wants to ask what they mean and where they come from, and she wants to follow them back to the words and ways of their mothers' mothers. The Russian woman slumps over Juniper and crosses her arm again. Beneath the permanent scowl of her face, there's a little of the same glow that Beatrice sees in the rest of the room. Perhaps it's hunger, or perhaps it's hope. Not many of us, she observes gruffly. Juniper grabs her on the back, claps her on the back, slightly too hard. Oh, there will be, Yulia, my friend. I got an idea. Beatrice looks up to meet Agnes's eyes, and she and Agnes are still wary with one another, careful as cats. But at this moment, Beatrice is certain that they're both wondering the same thing, whether there's anything in the world more sinister than their younger sister in possession of an idea. About this idea of yours, Bella begins. It's past midnight, and number 7 South Sybil is finally empty again. Agnes rolled out spare quilts for her sisters and told them gruffly that it was too late to walk half across the city. Juniper's curled up on her side, tired enough not to care how hard and flat the floor is. She's hovering right at the edge of blary-eyed sleep. She produces an eloquent in response. Is it a dangerous idea? Nah. If you were to estimate the size and scale of the riot that it would provoke and the number of innocent bystanders it would put in St. Charity's, Juniper hurls a pillow at Bella and is satisfied by her subsequent squawk. I think a few demonstrations is all, nothing dangerous. She is thinking unwillingly of Electa lowering herself carefully into her seat, clutching her cracked rib, of Jenny's bruised jaw gone from midnight blue to a dawn yellow, of her sisters asking what comes after such a thing. Is it a demonstration of witching? Bella asks. No, it's a demonstration of knitting. Yes, of course it's witching. Bella folds her arms behind her head, watching a play of shadow through the gap beneath the door. A pair of legs are walking past, doubling, pausing in the hall. Something to show them what we're capable of. Who is them? Juniper shrugs. The invisible dark. The women who think that we're lying or stupid or selling them snake oil. The men who think they can beat us in the street. Everybody, I guess. There's a long pause before Bella says with unflattering shock, well, I guess that's not a terrible idea. Why, thank you. It would certainly help with recruitment, and the larger our organization becomes, the more collective knowledge we possess. I know, 1 minute, and then we'll go eat. Of course, we need to be quite clever in our spells. Bella's voice is warming to the kind of scholarly enthusiasm she means to keep going for hours or possibly weeks, when a second pillow whumps into her, and Agnes grates, Can you go to sleep, you ingrates? And the ingrates go to sleep. Whatever was standing in the hall must have left, because the light shines unbroken now. It's only in the final burrowed seconds before she closes her eyes that it occurs to Juniper that she never heard their footsteps. Ooh, I didn't read that well. That's creepy. I'm going to read that again so that we realize what happened. The ingrates go to sleep, and whoever was standing in the hall now must have left, because the light shines unbroken. It's only in the final blurred seconds before she closes her eyes that it occurs to Juniper that she never heard their footsteps. Ooh, is it those shadows? No good. Ugh, scary. Ooh. Today's chapters were a little longer, so thank you all for sticking with it. Thank you for sticking with it. I know, it's crazy, right? This is very exciting. We're at 29% in the book for those of you who are keeping track. for your, you know, readings and all that. And we will have more. Yeah, you want to tell them something? What do you want to tell them? Yeah, what else? That's it? Anything else? No, that's all we had to say. Okay, well, we'll see you all later. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.